Good day and welcome to The State. We are glad you could join us. On the show, we probe the issues and dig the solutions. Thank you for choosing us once again. My name is Gabriel Nii Otu Ankrah. Stay for details.
Oh yes, the solution to all your travel needs is here. 𝗟𝗩𝗡 Lodge and Travel Services offers you the opportunity to travel to the following countries: Canada, United States of America, Turkey, Dubai, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Malta, Germany, and other European countries, where skilled workers such as nurses, paramedics, nannies and caregivers, drivers, plumbers, masons, electricians, carpenters, painters, etc. are needed for urgent employment. 𝗟𝗡𝗡 Lodge and Travel Services can secure your Schengen visas with work permits. Individuals, organizations, churches, schools can contact us for their ticketing and hotel reservation, car rental services, international tour packages, travel consultation, visa assistance, and study abroad packages to all countries. We are located at Mr. Bates Bus Stop, opposite the Calvary Baptist Church at Abaka, Accra, or contact us on these numbers: 0544 27 9525 or 0545 622 672 or 0302 237557. 𝗟𝗡𝗡 Lodge and Travel Services, your destination, our pride.
Welcome back. Let us settle for W Breeze. On W Breeze, what we do is to give you a sneak peek into the topic for discussion of the day. You can call it the executive summary. So today we are considering the code of conduct. So a public officer is a person who is appointed to represent an organization or an entity in official matters, particularly with government agencies. That is a public officer appointed to represent an organization or an entity. In Ghana, a public officer refers to a person who holds a public office and usually serves various capacities within the government or public sector. That is a public officer in Ghanaian terms. But according to the 1992 Constitution, public officers are expected to adhere to a code of conduct that will ensure that they toe their lines, or they perform or discharge their duties without partiality, impartially, as they go about their day-to-day operation. So every public officer must adhere to this code of conduct. It is enshrined in the Constitution. So this constitutional provision has this provisions. The code of conduct has this provisions. One is conflict of interest. It is in the Constitution that public officers are prohibited from putting themselves in situations or positions that will let their personal interest conflict with their official duties. The 1992 Constitution is clear on that. Also, is asset declaration, that certain public officers such as members of parliament, ministers of state, judges must declare their assets and liabilities to the Auditor General. They must do this before they assume office, 4 years after taking office, and when their tenure ends. The 1992 Constitution has clearly stated that. And then there is accountability. Public officers who contravene this code must face actions or investigations by the Commissioner for Human Rights and Administrative Justice or the Chief Justice. You contravene it, you face action or investigation. President John Dramani Mahama has recently unveiled, as it were, detailed provisions on matters like conflict of interest, gifts travel, the use of state assets in a new code of conduct for all political appointees. So the 1992 Constitution has set it clearly in the document called the Constitution. Then President Mahama has introduced this new code of conduct for political appointees. This new code of conduct, you can choose to call it Mahama Code of Conduct, outlines specific rules that the political appointees must follow. They must follow. Unveiling the code of conduct, the president charged his ministers to serve the public with integrity and impartiality, and asked them that they place the national interest above their parochial interest. They should seek first the interests of the public, and they should avoid wasting or misusing office or state resources. Clear charge to the political appointees. Whereas many anti-corruption or anti-graft campaigners have hailed the initiative of the president, some have doubted its effective implementation. How will he implement this? Some say, hail the president, you've done well. It shows that you are going about something. But with the launch of the conduct of the Code of Conduct for Political Appointees, we ask, can President Mahama swiftly and decisively ensure that his appointees comply with this code of conduct? And should they falter, can he deal with them? We'll be back and find out more.
Nyansa, it's Jan and Peninano, and I Jen and Peninano. The baby Biara and Penifuashia, Naya Shire Jun. Ne open Yansano, or Ben Wa, or their good year, Chadjunimo good year, and a coffee. And yes, I do it. And some more drop, and some polo. Somewhere, ye tear bobra, a co ye, frasi frito, near open Yansano, or Manguan Guenia say, then Penisha Yajuni, the Bay Shira, Amano, and then in Chirima, Yadamwasi.
Jack in penning in Soyajuni, Jimre, Nashayan, Mimninde, Nimimninde Pia, and no pat no watching, or Wesleyan television so.
Welcome. And on the stage today, we are looking at the Code of Conduct. You can call it the Mahama Code of Conduct because the 1992 Constitution clearly gave some provisions for how public office holders should conduct themselves. They should conduct themselves with integrity and impartiality, always seeking the interests of the nation. National interest first before any parochial interest. Issues of ethics and standards also come in. And recently, President John Mahama has unveiled and given detailed provisions on such areas as conflict of interest, gift, travel, and the use of state resources to his political appointees. He has issued, and these are rules that political appointees must follow. Some anti-corruption campaigners have hailed the initiative that it marks of a sign of accountability, that yes, you will hold the people accountable. Others have said that they doubt if it could achieve its purpose, if this code can be effectively implemented. On the state today, we're going to unpack this code of conduct. We're going to unpack it and then see what it is, what it contains, and how it can be effectively implemented. As usual, we have people who are vexed in the matters to help us, our viewers, to understand and appreciate so that they can follow the conversation. We join on the line and via Zoom. He is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman for the Peace Council. He is joining us via phone. The Greater Accra Regional Chairman for the Peace Council, National Peace Council, Right Reverend Samuel Kofi Osabote. Right Reverend, thank you very much for joining us on the stage and welcome.
Thank you.
We are excited to have you. So, Right Reverend, sir, the Code of Conduct, as we have it in the Constitution, the President has also unveiled a new one that is telling his political appointees how they must conduct themselves, comport themselves in public office. How does it come to you? And is it a step in the right direction? Hello, Right Reverend Osabote. Right, Reverend Osabote. Yeah, if you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, sir.
Yeah, you see, I think that is a...
We will have to work the lines and then get back to. But interesting development lately have made many Ghanaians to be saying. Some are saying that we are seeing political or appointees and public office holders.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Right Reverend, sir. We can hear you if you may.
All right. So, what question were you posing to me?
Yeah, so I was asking you that, yes, the 1992 Constitution makes it clearly, and it tells us there is a code of conduct. Yes,
that's right.
The President has also unveiled a new code of conduct for all political appointees that he's going to work with. So I am asking that, how does it come to you? Is it a step in the right direction?
Let me begin by saying that we know that the President, His Excellency John Mahama, is having a second stint at the presidency. And he must obviously have read the Constitution in the past. He has been in governance, and he saw what happened during his first stint as a president. He might have learned from his mistakes. And now that he has another opportunity to lead the governance of this nation, would have carefully reflected and realized that operationalizing what is in the Constitution will call for another document that gives clarity. I cannot say that I know everything in the 1992 Constitution, but at least many people will look at this document as giving clarity to what may be in the Constitution as the code of conduct for all the people he has appointed. Remember, the buck rests with the President of the Republic of Ghana. He appoints. He has the right to appoint. He has the right to say that he doesn't want to work with this person again because of ABC. And we know that in the past, anything happens in Ministry A, in Town A, Region A, Region B, Region C, everybody points to the President. So I think that we should all embrace that document, take our time to look at it, and those of us who are part of the governance in our local areas, we should be the watchdogs for the President. Because the people who are going to be working in the regions, the people who are going to be working in the ministry, the people who are going to work on the board are with the everyday people. So this is not only a document for the President of the Republic of Ghana. It's a document for all Ghanaians to look at it and be honest about it. So if I'm in Region A or locality A, district A, whatever, and I realize that a government appointee is not going to according to what the conduct says, then I, as a responsible citizen, I, as a beneficiary of governance, will have to then come up and say, look, I have seen that ABCD, Mr. ABCD, Mrs. ABCD, Miss ABCD is not going according to us. We all should become the eye of the president. This is how I see this document. And speaking as a theologian, speaking as a Christian leader, I mean, we know that there is a constitution, well, common constitution, which is called the Bible, which all people who aspire to be leadership in the Christian church are supposed to abide by. But if you take, for example, the Methodist Church Ghana, we have also put in documents within our constitution, which may be, akin to this code of ethics, talking about how we should exercise our leadership, our ethical leadership, based on the fundamental constitution of the Christian, which is the Bible. So this is how I see the two documents interrelated.
Very well, very well. Theological perspective linked to governance as we have it here. We also joined by an anti-corruption campaigner. He's been with us and helped us to understand the conversation. Adam Senano. Adam, good to have you on the stage once again.
Good afternoon. Line is a bit faint, but I hope I can hear you.
Yes, okay. We'll work the lines, but we can hear you clearly. So you just speaking on the subject that we are looking at, Mohammed's Code of Conduct, was the Right Reverend Samuel Kofi Osabuti. He is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the National Peace Council. He was sharing his perspective on how we should approach, why we should approach President Mohammed's initiative to have this code of conduct for appointees, public officers, and he linked it to theology, so that we see that yes, it is properly situated that we conduct ourselves if we got the opportunity to serve in public office. Right Reverend Sir, let me pick your thoughts on this time around. Let's try to unpack the code of conduct. The first is conflict of interest. He has urged his ministers to avoid placing themselves in positions that will compromise their duties, where their personal interests should not come in.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example in the Christian community. Assuming I am the minister in charge of my congregation, and there is a work that has to be done in the congregation. Let's say my wife, my son, my daughter, let's say it's a contractor, it's a caterer, or has some kind of what we call skill expertise. Do you think it would be ethically right for me to front up my wife, my daughter, my son, my relation, to be the one to take up that job within, let's say, my congregation? That's where the conflict of interest comes in. So that's why I'm saying that this conflict of interest is not only for the political person. Some leadership cuts across a lot, political leadership. So what I'm saying is that conflict of interest, just to make our listeners to hear, to understand what conflict of interest means. So I'll just give you that example. And so what the document, and this I will not say the president, his excellency, what the document is saying is that if you are a leader, at the means, His Excellency President John Mahama, do not allow yourself to become an instrument of conflict of interest. So this is how I can explain this conflict of interest in no matter. I'll just give you an example, because I'm bringing a lot of challenges. I personally, for example, as a minister, I've decided that if we have something to do in my church, let's say we have a visiting priest, we have a visitor, it is up to the stewards of the church to decide that we are giving this contract for the president's bills or whatever it is to another person within the church.
Yeah.
And not my wife to become a procurement officer. And because my wife knows how to cook, or it's a caterer.
Exactly.
Not my wife to become a financial advisor, or not my son, not my relation to become a contractor. No, I may have relatives who have those expertise. but it will be conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And it's against ethical leadership.
And
so I'm looking at the perspective of ethics in terms of ethical leadership. And if you look at the document in this broader sense, then the little ones, example, the one that you have brought up, can then be part of the puzzle we are trying to establish. Yeah.
Very well. And interestingly, this new document, this code, helps to more or less unveiled so that for nobody to doubt that when we say conflict of interest, it breaks down when it says people who are associated to you, it even traces back to your cousins, your grandparents, your grandmother, your grandfather. Yes, so that you discharge it. Bishop, sir, one other should I say layer is the layer of influence peddling. He's warned his appointees against influence peddling. Don't use your position to get favors.
Yeah, people, as a leader, whether Christian leader or political leader, and again, as I'm saying, I am not a politician in the sense of a party politics person, but I'm a politician in terms of participating in political discourse. All right? So all that is saying, my understanding, and I've read a little bit of it, saying that as Osofu, as a minister of state, do not allow yourself for people to use you to gain what they have to gain, especially in this process, illegally. Okay? I think that is it. Illegally. Do not allow yourself. So let's give an example. There is something that is going to be done in a check A or B or C. And then somebody who is bidding, let's say, for the contract or for the job to be done comes to see me and say, "Oh, we know you. You know that we have been together. You know, we were schoolmates. You know, and now that you have come to this position, please, can you use your influence so that I am the one considered for this job?" It may seem very subtle and nothing wrong with that. But you see that because you are the head of a press, that I'm the chairman of the leaders meeting of my church, you are the minister of state for this ministry, you are the minister for this region, you are the minister of whatever. If you place yourself in that position, you are likely to compromise and your integrity will be at stake. So I think it's a caution and a warning that remove yourself away from what will make you to compromise your integrity and people using you to achieve their ends, especially in illegal ways. That's how I can interpret that influence. Yeah.
Very well, very well. Also is the issue of budgetary allocations that the ministers.
Well, I didn't hear that.
Budgetary allocation. So the operations under the appointees, the public officers, when the budgets are given to you, you should use them judiciously. You should make sure that the financial rules and standards are upheld, and you use them well.
Yeah, you see, let's again, for example, as a minister, the church determines my salary. The church determines my salary, my allowances that I get every month. The church determines what I should use for electricity and so on and so on. Now, it is up to me to know that this is what the church has decided. That we only give you so much for fuel, we'll give you only so much for electricity, we'll give you so much for this, for that. I'm just using myself as an example, and it applies to the minister or whoever is in charge that the president is referring to, because remember, in the preamble we said that minister refers to all persons that the president has appointed. Yeah. So if I'm supposed to enjoy certain benefits and have limitations, I must be careful. One, I use the resources that I've been given right now. For example, in my house, I decide that all the lights must go off at a certain time. All right? The fact that somebody is paying for the lights does not mean that I could use the lights the way I like it. So all my children must be taught, everybody must be taught. Okay, I have been given a vehicle to use for the work of the church. I don't just use it because I have to use it. I must be careful that I'm using it in such a way that the vehicle is maintained and not to misuse it. In the same way, if you administer a certain resources, and resources does not only mean money. It may be even the furniture in your office. It may be something else. I mean, resources are resources. But most of you will think about resources in terms of only money. Okay, so even we are talking about money, and you have been given 10,000 cities to carry out a job. Well, it is not that that job is going to cost 10,000 cities or whatever it is. And that's why it was, a committee has sat down and make sure that that is what is good. Now, I think the document is saying that be sure that you maximize those resources that have been given to you. Make sure that they are appropriated for the things for which they have been allocated, so that you avoid unethical leadership. Again, I'm coming to the issue about, I see the whole document about ethical leadership.
Ethical leadership, indeed it is. Viewers, if you're just joining us, this is the state, and today we are looking at the code of conduct that President John Dramani Mahama has produced or unveiled, that all his appointees must follow specific rules that they must follow, and he's given detailed provisions on conflict of interest, on gifts, on travel, on state assets, and all that. So we are unpacking the code of conduct so that viewers, you can understand and appreciate, so you follow the national discourse. So we joined via phone, and he's been helping us to understand and appreciate, and it's linked theology and ethical leadership. That is all this is about. So not only people in political office. He is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman for the National Peace Council, Right Reverend Samuel Kofi Osabote. Join and then follow the discussion, and I'm very, very, very sure that you will follow the national conversation after this, because you will have a fair idea about what the nation is talking about. Right Reverend Sir, let's come back to what the document contains. The next one I want us to look at is the matter of gifts. Gifts.
The matter of what?
Gifts. Receiving gifts. Soliciting for gifts.
Or soliciting for gifts, okay.
Yeah, soliciting for gifts. So the president has warned his people, his men, that don't go soliciting and accepting gifts. Even if you may, any gift that is above 20,000 cedis should be declared. You should go and declare to the secretary to cabinet or chief of staff. Don't take anything.
Okay. Yeah, gifts by nature are not induced by leaders or by people, okay? A gift is something that somebody out of their own voluntary, people give out of voluntary, okay? Free will, give to somebody, a leader. And a leader may be a chief, people go to the chief's house, people go to a sophomor's house to give gifts and so on and so on. And what is, I think that behind that, the spirit of that gift is that first, we as leaders, political, social, educational, and in this case, political leaders, should not induce people to give us gifts, and especially if the gift is meant to influence a certain decision making. Because sometimes the gift is given subtle with an ulterior motive. We may not even be aware that that is the motive. So we need to be cautious. All the document is asking us to do is to be cautious what we receive and how we receive it and the context in which we receive it. Coming back to me as a Christian leader, I'm a leader of a church. At Christmas time, people give us gifts. They give us gifts. Sometimes it's a food gift, sometimes it's money gifts, and so on and so on. But if that is meant for the person, for us to have favor, so that we can rule or take decisions that will favor those persons, that is not acceptable. And again, as a leader, I should not go and make the people aware that look, I need this gift. So by all means, when it is Christmas time, Easter time, or occasion, come to give me this gift. No, this must come voluntary out of the person's now. The caution is that if somebody is giving you a gift beyond a certain reasonable amount as is stipulated in the document, then you should be cautious. That's all that in the document is asking those of us in leadership. And as I'm saying, I look at the document not only good for the politicians, but good for all of us who are in leadership. And I think that we can all learn from it. So that's what I'll say about this gift.
Very well.
The gifts themselves are not bad in themselves, because traditionally we know every year, Christmas, I've been in other regions. I don't want to mention the paramounts or areas, but we all go to give gifts to our kids. We go to give gifts to our elderly. We go to give gifts themselves are not bad in themselves. But the caution here is, receiving gifts that may certainly lead us into taking decisions that we would otherwise not would have taken. Okay.
Very. The document makes interesting reading, especially on gift, because it goes on to acknowledge the fact that culturally, when you pay a, some of the ministers go for functions, they visit chiefs, they are given smogs, they are given this. It says that yes, in certain cultural settings, if you don't accept,
but sometimes let me pause you and say that a gift. For example, let's take the church. Somebody comes to the church. Some provision has been performed by the church to a certain member of the church. All right? Some service. I, as the minister, represent the church. So the person is going to give this. I need to ask the church, is this money for the church? Is it a donation to the church? Or you are gifting it to me personally? I don't know whether you are getting my point.
Yes.
I need to ask, because you are giving me the money.
Yes.
As a minister, I do my exercise. Let's say I go for a burial service, I go for a wedding service, I go for some other social event involving a member. And then the member gives me something. I need to be careful and ask whether you are giving this to the church as an institution, or you are giving it to me personally as a gift. So let's say the person comes to give me a card for a gift. I need to ask, are you giving it to me as someone community, or you are giving it for the use of the church?
Very well.
I think this is where the dilemma of sometimes leadership comes in terms of gifts. Okay? So if somebody comes to give, recently we were told that somebody has presented 2 vehicles to the president.
To the president, yes.
And the president realized that, look, maybe this may be for my office because I don't need a vehicle from anybody to move about. And the president of the republic does not need the gift of a vehicle from anybody to move about. 2 of us.
Very well. Yes.
So if somebody gives a gift and he says, look, this gift is for your office, fine. The president says so, and he's passing on the same message, okay, to all of us in leadership. So I keep on repeating that this document is not only for the politicians, but all of us in leadership.
Very well.
That I should be careful that I distinguish between what is personal and what is for the institution. If we are able to solve that problem, we will not run ourselves into, again, unethical leadership.
Very well. Viewers, let's listen to the president as he launched the code of conduct, and when we are back, we'll digest it.
Many of you have not seen the code of conduct yet. Don't have a heart attack when you receive your copy. Ministers of State, deputy ministers, members of the Council of State, presidential staffers, head of agencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. In my 120-day social contract with the people of Ghana, I pledged to restore discipline, integrity, and accountability into our governance. Today, we're taking an important step towards fulfilling that promise with the official launch of the Code of Conduct for political appointees. This code represents a bold declaration of the standards we must uphold as servants of the public. It reflects our commitment to build a government that is ethical, responsive, and worthy of the people's trust. Let me be clear. This document is not a ceremonial one. It is a living and enforceable framework that outlines what is expected of every individual appointed under this administration. Though the document often uses the term minister, it applies broadly to deputy ministers as well, to presidential staffers, to chief executive officers and their deputies, to members of the Council of State, to board members, and other political appointees within the executive arm of government. And I include myself. It applies to my vice president, myself, the president, the chief of staff, the executive secretary, all advisors. All of us are bound by this code of conduct. This is a government of shared responsibility, and there will be no sacred cows. Why do we need a code of conduct? Because we must build a new political culture, one that is rooted in transparency, humility, and ethical leadership. Ghanaians deserve leaders who serve with honor and put the public interest ahead of their personal gain. This code is designed to guide our actions and decision-making and to make clear the consequences that will happen when we fall short. Now let me highlight a few key principles and provisions of the code. All political appointees must serve the public with integrity and impartiality, must place the national interest above their personal interest, must avoid misuse of office or state resources, must declare and manage any potential conflict of interest, must eschew opulence, be accountable for every cedi or public money you spend, and be humble in service, measured in language, and respectful to citizens at all times. You are not in office to wield power. You are here to serve the people of Ghana. The second is conflict of interest. Any situation that creates a conflict between your personal interest and your official duties must be avoided or disclosed. This includes holding stakes in companies that deal with government or with your ministries, using insider knowledge for your personal benefit, awarding contracts to entities that are connected to yourself or your close family. If you're a dormant partner in any business engaging with the government, even outside your ministry, you must disclose it in writing to this office. Not through a telephone call, not through a relative. You must submit an official declaration. Failure to do so will result in disciplinary action. Number 3, interest of friends and family. Public perception matters. You must avoid making decisions that benefit your relatives or your close friends. You must not recommend them for contracts or appointments. If your actions give even the appearance of bias, you compromise the integrity of your office. Number 4, gifts and hampers. We all know our cultural fondness for gifts, but we must now draw a clear line between appreciation and influence. Appointees are prohibited from accepting gifts or favors, especially from companies or individuals with interest in governmental decisions. If a gift is received during an official engagement and its estimated value exceeds 20,000 Ghana cedis, it must be declared.
So that was the President of the Republic, President John Mahama, when he launched the Code of Conduct for the political appointees. And you could hear he stating emphatically some of the issues that we have been looking at, that we've been discussing, that Right Reverend Samuel Kofi Sabote has touched on. So indeed, the President made bare what is contained in that document and how he expects them to abide by them and make sure they provide ethical leadership whilst in public office. We are joined by another anti-corruption campaigner via Zoom. His name is Samuel Harrison. Samuel, thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure, sir.
Very well, very well. Sammy, you just came at the heels of the president mentioning hampers. Let me start you off with a layer of hampers in the new code of conduct that no public officer is to use government funds to purchase hamper, whether from your internally generated funds. Of course, there's a caveat. If it is to award your staff for performance, good performance, or end of year service, it is allowed. But don't use government funds to buy hampers.
Yeah, yes. Good afternoon to viewers of Wesleyan TV, and good afternoon to very Reverend Kofi Sabute.
He's right, Reverend.
I'm Right Reverend Kofi Sabute. Say it's a pleasure to share the platform with you. I think that this issue of hampers has been because we have seen a lot of wastage of public funds. In years gone by, we see state agencies that very often tell us that they do not have money for programmatic duties, suddenly get money to buy lots of hampers and share amongst themselves and give to other people. And I agree with the president, calling for a stop to some of these things. We need to protect the public purse. So I agree with him on the issue of hampers. On the issue of gifts, one thing we have noticed in this anti-corruption drive is that our attention is very often on public officers receiving gifts, but we do not speak about the giving of gifts, right? Especially when it is public officers who are giving those gifts. So we see even the code of conduct that the president launched, that everything there is about receiving of gifts. When you receive, it's more than 20,000 Ghana cedis, you have to declare it and all of that. But what about the public officials giving gifts? What law is regulating the gifts they can give? And it's coming especially on the heels of this whole Sami Jemfi issue and the money he has given out and all of that. There is that lacuna in our laws. And so I feel that we need to tighten the laws around that side. Yes, we need to focus on public officials receiving gifts, but let us now also bring the conversation to public officials giving gifts. Are they allowed to give gifts, and what kind of gifts are they allowed to give? Which class of people should they give the gifts to, so that we can regulate our expenditure? Otherwise, then we are closing one end whilst leaving another end open, so that it is exploited. So I agree with the president on the hampers. We don't need to do hampers anymore, but let us also now turn our attention to gift giving by public officials. Some of them even go as far as setting up foundations so that they can regularize this gifts they are given. It is fine if they are able to prove that the source of money for those gifts they are giving isn't public funds. But as much as possible, we need to tighten the law around that side to ensure that we are able to regulate public spending. So yes, I agree with the president on the hamper, but let's tighten the law around gifts in this country. Thank you.
Very well. On the law, and this question, I will take your thoughts, you and then Right Reverend. The law brings to fore Article 286 on declaration of assets. It is clear, the law is clear that it's upon assumption of office, written declaration, whether directly or indirectly, 4 years in office, and then when you have concluded your tenure, you are supposed to declare. But here we are, 55 of the president's appointees, ministers, as of the deadline that was given them, 31st of March 2025. As of April 17th, these number of ministers have flouted that rule. They have not declared their assets.
Yes, so our assets declaration law in this country is itself very, very problematic. the asset declaration law that we have does not allow for verification of the assets declared. So we can't take the declaration the person has made and then go around and be sure that what the person has said actually is what is on the ground. The law does not allow us to do monitoring. So we cannot go around to see if the person has added something else to what he declared. The law does not allow for a publication. If we publish the assets they have declared, community members could look at it and tell everybody, that, oh, I know this person, he has this house, it is not declared, or he owns this bank, it is not declared. But our asset declaration law, as it stands, does not allow a publication. And even when we look at the sanctions regime within our assets declaration, that sanctions regime also does not provide a sanction for people who either do not declare. The law simply says that if someone does not declare, the president may remove the person from office. It's not even shall. The president may remove the person from office. So our assets declaration and liabilities law is itself weak, and we need to amend that law to provide for current trends in assets declaration worldwide. If we do not do that, then we would have people declaring assets. We don't know which assets they have declared. We don't know, the nitty-gritty of what they have said, whether the person has done, people can put in things that they hope to acquire one day. And it's not fair with us. When the late Sir John died, we saw the tussle over his assets and what came out. And this is someone who had acquired these within 2016 to 2020, right? So we need to tighten our asset declaration. Frankly, the sanctions regime around our asset declaration leave much to be desired. There is a sanction rather for officers who leak assets that have been declared, but there is no proper sanction for people who would either lie about their asset declaration or who would not declare their assets at all. I think that is not good enough. We need to tighten our asset declaration. It is good to see that we are doing a constitutional review, but the law around assets and liability declaration must be tightened. Otherwise, then we are not doing much to promote the fight against corruption. It's unfortunate, but when it comes to fighting corruption, it's like we have a lot more problems than solutions. And that's because of the kinds of laws we have made for ourselves in this country.
Very well. Right, Reverend Sir, let me come to you. Assets declaration. The previous government, the President Akufo-Addo-led regime, said his ministers declared. Others are saying that it's because they didn't put cameras on it. Are public office holders been truthful with us? What is the challenge with they declaring their assets?
Well, the document, this document of assets declaration for the benefit of our viewers and those who are listening to us, has been something that has been in our constitution for a very long time. Well, let's be honest. Since the 1992 constitution, was put into effect, have we heard about this? No. Let's not play the hypocrite. From 1992 up to now, have we explicitly, as Ghanaians, been told that Minister A, Minister B, Minister this, President A, President B has declared his assets? And some are saying that those assets that are shrouded in secrecy should be made public, and then for everybody to see that this person, when he was coming into office, had one car, two cars, or one dress, and before taking office, it has been there. But we have all paid lip service to it. Okay? So if now we are correcting ourselves, as I said, the current president has had a fair stint in office as the president of our dear republic. He might have sat down, as I said, reflected and realized that, hey, there is something we need to have been doing which we have not done in the past. Now, moving forward, and I have been given another opportunity to provide leadership in our governance system, let me correct the mistakes of the past. I am assuming that this is where the president is coming from. And I myself will begin. If in the past I did not, now I'm doing it. Therefore, all of you who are serving with me, look at me. I have set the example. And if you are not going to follow my example, you cannot be part of my government. So let's wait and see whether the president is going to walk and talk. All right? But that provision has always been there. And the question is, nobody knows why it has not been enforced and who should see that it is enforced. Okay? Now the president is the watchman. We, the people of Ghana, are watching the president. And the president is watching his appointees. So if they don't declare it, then we have a distance to say, Mr. President, please, we appointed you as a watchman over the people you have chosen to serve with you. We have seen that you have done your part. Mr. President, sir, why are your people not doing the same? Coming back to the church, I go to a place. I've taken over a man, the building, a man where the ministers live in the context of the church. It's called a man. So when I get in there is an access declaration. All right, in terms of what we came to meet there in the months. So 1 foot, a set of people, etc., etc., etc. These were the things we came to meet. Now, when you are about to leave, it's expected that the stewards will check and find out whether those things were still there. If something else was added, so let's say, for example, we came to meet a vehicle, and you also have a vehicle before you were coming there. And you didn't take the other vehicle of the church away? No. You take the things that are in the months away. What is the policy about assets in the months? Okay, so in every sphere, all that is document, I keep on repeating, is talking about extra responsible and accountable leadership. If we look at it from this perspective, then I think that if the new president or the current president wants to enforce what has not been enforced in the past, all of us will lend our support. Give him the time frame that wait and be patient and give the time frame that now be extended to the first
Very well.
I understand. See whether the people are going to declare the answers. But I think it's for the good of the individual himself. As the example I've given to you from my church perspective. So that nobody can go when the minister came, he came to meet this, and when he was going away, he took this and so on and so on and so on and so on.
Very well, Bishop.
I'm making myself clear.
Yeah. I wanted to tie something to what you are responding to, but this one, Samuel can also join right after you land. You know, some have argued that we need to go beyond a code of conduct. There need to be a bill, an act, because a new government comes and it thinks I don't need any code of conduct. But if it is, documented, if it is an act of parliament, if it's a law, you are bound by it. And looking at the ongoing constitutional review, is that a point to consider?
It should be, so that it will become one of the entrenched laws within the country. I will go for that. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in a position to sponsor any private bill or that. But if somebody does that, I think that it's in the right direction, and I will support it so that it doesn't become left with whoever is the president, as in this case, trying to enforce it. But if it is not done, what do we do to the person or the person? I think that I will support any this so it becomes an entrenched law in the Constitution. So those of you who are lawyers who are listening to us and are driving this and have the ability and the skill to frame something that will become binding on all governments no matter who is in power, or no matter what political party is governing us at any given time. I think this is one of the things that we can all endorse.
We can very well. A bill was actually laid in this direction in the last parliament before the tenure of the last parliament expired. They're hoping that it goes through the new parliament so that it becomes a law that will guide us. Let me come to you, Samuel. No, you are both Samuel, senior Samuel, and then junior Samuel.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest and plain. You know, sometimes when such kind of bills are supposed to be debated by the very persons who are going to be affected, they find ways to drag their feet.
Yes. Harrison, if you can hear me, your
yes, I can hear you.
Yes. We don't need a code. We need an act.
Yes. So, in fact, at the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, last week when the president launched his code of conduct, we applauded him for the leadership he has shown in this direction. But we were saying that what he has done is limited to his government. If a new government comes and it's not, an NDC government, the person may throw the code of conduct away and say, well, it was Mahama and the NDC who did this. I am not bound by it. Right? Even if the new government is an NDC government, the new president can say, well, I don't share this vision. So this vision is not something I would want to work with. You can throw it aside. But we had a conduct of public officers bill that the Akufo-Addo government was working on. We suggested that to ensure that we sustain the gains made for lasting impact, the president should ensure that the conduct of public officers bill is passed into law so that it outlives his administration. So that when a new government comes, they would not throw that law aside and do what they want. I understand what Bishop is saying, that sometimes when we ask our people to make laws, they write themselves into the laws by creating loopholes that they could get out of. That is also something that we need to pay attention to, and I agree with Bishop on that. But at least for starters, then the president should pass the conduct of public officers bill. Of course, in passing that bill, we would all scrutinize the bill and make sure that relevant portions are put in, or portions that are very important are strengthened so that we can work with it. But we believe that this code of conduct should outlive any administration. And to do that, then we have to pass the conduct of public officers bill so that we can hold future governments to account. So yes, we would applaud President Mahama for showing leadership in getting this code of conduct put out. We would applaud him for the leadership he has shown in at least giving some kind of punishment to his 55 people who did not declare their assets by taking their 3-month salary and giving them up till the end of day, I think last week, Wednesday, for them to declare their assets. That is the kind of leadership that we have lacked in this country for a long while. So it was nice to see him providing that kind of leadership.
Very well.
But we feel that we must institutionalize this kind of leadership, and that can be done only when we have passed the conduct of public officers bill into law.
Very well,
and we still stand by that.
Very well, Harrison. Too bad as the conversation is getting interesting. Time is just knocking on our door. Your final comments. Your final comments.
For finally, I would do two things. First of all, I would call on President Mahama and the NDC government that they have a lot of goodwill, and Ghanaians have given them that goodwill because we feel that this is an opportunity for him to correct the mistakes made in his first term as president and to make some legacy. And so he should be bold in putting out, sustainable anti-corruption measures that would help us even beyond his government. we wish that he would make that legacy. He would be bold to establish those anti-corruption laws. But beyond that, we would also wish to make a call to all Ghanaians that fighting corruption is about all of us. And so we want all of us to resist corruption, to reject corruption, and most importantly, to report all acts of corruption so that we are better able to hold our public officers to account.
Thank you very much. Right Reverend Samuel Kofi Osabote, your concluding remarks, sir.
My opening remarks again to say that let us all, I agree with my co-panelists, the one you just finished his remarks, that we have a document. At least it's a starting point for all of us. And we all, as Ghanaians, and those in leadership, both political, social, whatever, should accept this document as the beginning and realize that it's a document that has an overall aim of ensuring what we call responsible and accountable leadership. That's how I stand up, responsible and accountable leadership. And that we, those being governed, should not sit aside and just leave the whole implementation to only the President of the Republic. Because we are the people who put people into leadership. We are the people who the people leaders are serving. So let us all put our hands on the road and ensure that this document is being implemented. And I agree with my partner that on a higher ground, we should institutionalize it, get into our entrenched laws, and make sure that it outlives this particular government.
Very well. Thank you very much, gentlemen. To viewers, if ethics is poor at the top, that behavior is copied down the organization. You just heard Right Reverend Samuel Kofi Osabote. He is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman for National Peace Council. Also on the panel was Samuel Harrison. Samuel Harrison is an anti-corruption crusader. We've been looking at the code of conduct that's been lodged by President John Mahama for his political appointees. We have unpacked it. Now you understand the conversation. We have been called upon to make sure that the leaders we elect or appoint provide ethical leadership. Thank you very much for making time to be with us on the stage. We are back on your screens on Wednesday. My name is Gabriel Nii Otu Ankrah. Goodbye.